about 2 years, that building's going to turn 300, which means that building is older than George Washington. Just to put that into perspective, built by guys I'm dressed as. The more you know. Now, going on to the boomstick here, this is a smoothbore flintlock musket. Now, the range on this weapon. A lot of people seem to think that muskets like this are terribly inaccurate. Like you can't hit the broadside of a barn with a gun like this, and considering my occupation, I got pretty tired of hearing that. So I grabbed a few of my coworkers, and we went up to a range. But don't worry, they wouldn't let us use any live targets, so we had to trace one of my coworkers out into some cardboard, and we used that silhouette as a target. We then did a series of tests at varying ranges, and when we were done, we found that you could pretty much nail a human-sized target fairly center mass with a musket like this at about 100 to 150 yards. Now, I even hit one of my targets right in the neck at 200 yards. Yeah, I would tell you to be impressed, but I was not aiming at that target. Yeah, I was aiming like 2 guys down, but 100 to 150 yards is the range. And if you're a well-trained soldier, and I'm talking like really fast at your job, you can load this musket once every 15 seconds. So if you're really fast, you can shoot 4 whole bullets a minute. We'll lay on top some black powder. I'm going to put in this pan here shortly. Now, hopefully that's going to make a small explosion. Hopefully that small explosion travels in through a small touch hole and hopefully ignites the rest of the black powder inside the barrel here. And hopefully that explosion inside the barrel will hopefully create enough pressure to hopefully send the round lead 67 caliber musket ball out, hopefully for me as a Frenchman, into some English pig dog's chest. Filled with black powder, and there would be a musket ball, that 67 caliber musket ball, right here at the bottom of the cartridge in the 18th century. But today, I decided not to include the musket ball in this particular cartridge because up until now, I guess, most of you have been fairly well behaved. Just kidding. New York State really hates it when we kill people. And the insurance company hates it too. So no musket ball, but it will still go boom, so don't be discouraged. Now, how the heck am I supposed to open this?
Your teeth.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Yeah, and if you think that's gross, you should see the chemicals in a Pop-Tart. Alright, so I'm going to pour some of the black powder into the pan here. Take the rest of my cartridge, I'm going to dump that down the barrel. Now what I'm left with here is a paper tube and a musket ball. Now that paper tube does have a job. Alright, the musket ball, to load it quickly, I'd be using a slightly loose-fitting musket ball in the musket barrel. If I had a tight-fitting musket ball, it would take me a lot longer to load because I'd have to sit there, jamming that tight-fitting musket ball all the way down the musket barrel. There's a lot of resistance. Whereas with that loose-fitting ball, there's almost no resistance. It's going to take me a lot less time to load. But the problem with a loose-fitting ball is this. If I decide to saunter up to the top of that hill, and I point my gun down at the enemy without this piece of paper, what happens to the loose-fitting musket ball?
The ball rolls out.
Exactly. And at that point, how stupid do I look? Really, very, extremely, all good answers. So that's one of the things that piece of paper is going to do for me. The other is, it's going to make the shot more accurate because it prevents the musket ball from bouncing in the barrel when I shoot the gun. Now, what you're about to witness is probably the most underrated part of the reloading process. Voila! I removed the ramrod from the barrel. Now, if I didn't do that, what happens when you shoot a ramrod out of a musket like this is these will fly an impressive 30 feet. Yep, just about 30 feet. And if you're really lucky, they might even do a loop-de-loop for you midair, but ultimately they land pretty harmlessly on the ground. And even if you hit somebody in that flight path, short of hitting them directly in the eye, you really won't do too much damage to that person. You certainly wouldn't kill them. Now, how would I know something like that?
Obviously happened many times.
Because we tested that at the range too. First science. And let's face it, this would never happen, but even if you did somehow manage to propel this thing fast enough to turn it into a 3-foot steel javelin of death, flying across the battlefield, and you got really lucky and you turned that English pig dog into a shish kebab, even if all that happened, which it never would, but even if all that happened, I doubt that Englishman's going to dig the only way you have to reload your weapon out of his chest, limp across the battlefield, dodging the musket balls, the artillery shells, and the mortar bombs, and pleasantly hand this back to you saying, "Here you go, chap, I think you lost something." Since I doubt that's going to happen, you probably won't be able to reload. You certainly won't be able to reload. You definitely won't be able to shoot, and at that point, if you can't shoot, this isn't a musket anymore. It's a very expensive stick or war club. So hopefully here it goes. Try number 1. On the count of 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Excellent. Now, I do want you to notice the smoke. I
Congratulations.
bet you guys are noticing that smell right about now. Should smell like rotten eggs. guys, if not thousands, shooting these multiple times, plus you got cannons. That means the battlefield back then is going to get so smoky, it's definitely going to be hard to see on. So if you were there on that hard to see on smoky 18th century battlefield, who is going to be moving by the laughter? Are you going to agree with me? It's your friends, because if they can't see you through the smoke, they might shoot you in the back. And since they're closer than the enemy, they're going to do more damage than the enemy will. So to prevent all that from happening in the 18th century, that's why everybody wore a brightly colored coat. Because of the contrast with that gray smoke, you get to see through the smoke, yes, even with the white, who you're supposed to shoot at. More importantly, though, you're not supposed to shoot at.
That building right there was built 13 years before George Washington was born. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, who here likes weapons? All right, good. I'm digging all the people raising your hands. I'm digging the enthusiasm. For those of you who didn't raise your hands, too bad, I'm going to show you anyway, because I'm the one with the weapons. All right, this next weapon I have for you guys today is actually kind of getting phased out in the 18th century. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, though. The sword. If you were to see me and 1,000 of my French buddies. Now, actually, before I ask you that, I have to correct something. Now, in the movies, I know that you see some commander, some general, some guy with a high rank. He says charge, and his entire line of guys just starts sprinting at the enemy. All right, you should know by now that if they're doing it in the movie, it's going to work out pretty poorly in real life. Because if I was a commander and I had a whole line of guys and I said charge and they all just started sprinting at the enemy, I have just taken my nice organized line I can control and communicate with and turned it into a chaotic, disorganized mob I no longer have any control over, and I'm probably overextending my line. So I'm not going to accuse any movies for doing this specifically, of course. The Patriot! Excuse me. Right, but that's not going to happen. Instead, what they're going to do is, no one's going to start running at you. They're all going to start by walking at you like this, keeping their line and giving you time to think about this encroaching wall of triangular 6-foot pikes, covered in rust, dirt, and other assorted bodily fluids. So, what do you do? Now, I'm going to give you a hint real quick before you answer. There is a noble answer and a right answer. All right, proceed. Keep run.
Shooting.
All right, we got both the answers. Okay, we got run and shoot. There's always at least one. All right, who said shoot? All right, you get a Darwin Award.
Okay.
And
great.
here's why you get the Darwin Award. You are going to get stabbed, turned into triangular Swiss cheese if you stand and fight. And this is why. Number one, you've got a musket, and that thing works once every 15 seconds if you are a highly trained soldier. So by yourself, you'll be able to shoot this thing fast enough to kill enough guys to completely stop the charge. The answer is no. And if you're relying on your buddies, here's the problem with that. The tactics of the time dictate that what you're supposed to do is you soften up the enemy. You wait for their morale to dip. You wait for that unit to get scared and to finally break them. That's when you threaten them with a bayonet charge. So you might not break, but most of your buddies will. So they're going to leave you in the lurch to get stabbed, turned into triangular Swiss cheese. So that's why, even though that's the most noble answer, that's what gets you killed. Now, who said run away? Good job, you survived. You got to live to fight another day, which is why that was the right answer. And to sweeten that deal even further is if you're my enemy and you start to run away from me as an infantryman, I am not going to chase after you because you've just left the field. I've taken it. I've won the day. My job is done. I don't have to pursue you any further. And again, I don't want to overextend my line. But going back to pursuit and running after things, do you see these not one, but two fully sleeved 100% wool coats that I'm wearing right now? It's about 12 pounds of wool. Do I want to run after anything? No, it was a very rhetorical question, admittedly, but no, I don't. All right, so with that, though, I am my demonstration. If you guys have questions, feel free to come up and ask myself or just anybody else in a silly hat because we're not dressed up all pretty for nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.